Hello, friends. Good evening and welcome to our first session of 2021. And I would like to begin by asking you a question. How many of you would like to know the secret of how rich people keep getting richer? If you would like to know the secret, then please type RR, how rich keep getting richer, in the chat box. We would like the session to be interactive. Hershey, thank you for saying RR. Goel Saab says RR always. Shibashish, thank you. Avdesh, thank you. RR, others. Look forward to response from others. If you would like to know the secret of how rich people get richer. Shankar, thank you. Mudit, very yeah. That's the idea. That's the idea of Mudit ji. Yeah, Paman, thank you. And how many of you would like to learn the golden secret of personal finance, which can help us become US dollar millionaires? If you would like to know the golden secret, please type GS, golden secret of personal finance, which can help us become dollar millionaire, US dollar millionaire. GS Avdesh, thank you. Muditji, thank you. For sure, Shivashish, thank you. Let's see the Goel Saab. Thank you. Hemenji, thank you. Thank you. That's very interesting. Let us see who else has to respond. Harsh, Hemenji has responded. So good. Thank you, friends. Thank you for your enthusiastic response. And with that, I would like to proceed further and share a bit about. Some of you were there in our last session, which is Dar Se Dream Tak. This is a session which I did last Saturday, which is 26th of December, and 2020 was in many ways a very tough, extraordinarily tough for some people. And in conversation after conversation, I hear from people that they are fearful, primarily due to the uncertainty which is surrounding us. They are anxious what is going to happen in the future. And I thought, the challenge with the staying trapped in the low energy emotion of fear, uncertainty, and anxiety is the fact that we can just stay trapped and not be able to break through. And that is what I thought. It's very important as the new year is approaching that we take, that we share strategies of how we can break from low energy state to high energy state. And there were two strategies that we discussed last time. First one was attitude of gratitude. And practice of gratitude is a very powerful one, which can help us to move from low energy state to high energy state. And I would invite all of you to do a simple practice with me, which will take less than a minute, which is called the Lotus of Gratitude. I learned this from Nitya Shanti. And basically what I'll request you to do is hold your hands, fingers like this, like a lotus petal. जैसे कमल मिट्टी में उगता है, वैसे ही हमारे नेगेटिव इमोशंस जो फियर, अनसर्टिनिटी, एंजाइटी, डिप्रेशन, उसमें से ग्रैटिट्यूड का कमल उगेगा. And we can all rise to the next level of energy and positivity. So what I'll request you to is think of one thing that you are grateful for, and then open one finger, like the petal is opening. When the sun rays fall on the lotus, the petals open, and even more beautiful lotus emerges from there. So please think. You can think silently or you can say it aloud and keep opening fingers. I'm grateful for being alive. I'm grateful for the health. I'm grateful that my family is all healthy. We have a roof, and once you have counted 10, you can just place your hand on your heart and feel the gratitude. Gratitude is a heart energy. Let's be grateful to Mother Earth for supporting us, to the planet Earth for supporting us. And let's move forward. So this is a 8-week program that we have designed, and the second strategy that we shared was of living consciously, which is planning and moving ahead, because when we have a plan, we at least know the direction in which we are heading. Otherwise, we can just keep wandering and not know where we are going. So the in the 8-week program, the first two sessions we have kept on finance, because as per a survey that we did, we found that finance is a major cause of worry for many people. So in today's session and on the session on 9th of January, we're going to talk about financial peace and prosperity, how we can have strategies which can lead us to become peaceful and prosperous. Uh, Otherwise, if we don't have a conscious strategy, many people just keep sleepwalking through the year, through their lives. And I would like to take a minute to acknowledge all of you who have taken out time to join this session today and live consciously. So I would like you to, pat yourself on the back and, praise yourself that you are the one of the few people who has decided to live consciously, and that certainly deserves to be patted. So for those of you who know me, I'm Ashish. I founded Mindful Living, and for some of you are joining us for the first time, for their benefit, I would like to share I founded Mindful Living in 2018. Prior to starting Mindful Living, I worked in the corporate sector in senior management roles for over 25 years. Uh, uh, I started Mindful Living with a mission to help 1 million people live healthier, happier, and wealthier lives. And I'm grateful to you for joining us in the session today, because that is how it helps me, make this world a peaceful, happier place. I'll be conducting this session along with my friend of 25 years and a very senior finance professional, Mr. Avdesh Nagar. Avdesh Nagar is an alumnus of prestigious Sriram College of Commerce and Master of Finance and Control. He has worked in many multinational banks like GE, Citibank, Standard Chartered Bank, and in his last assignment, he was handling an asset book of 500 million US dollars. So very well accomplished professional. I am myself a cost accountant and an MBA in finance. So between Avdesh and I, we have got the credentials to talk to you about finance. The reason I'm sharing this is because you need to be comfortable that you are talking to people who are certified financial professionals. And with that, I'll invite Avdesh. Hand it over to Avdesh to speak.
Thank you, Ashish. Can you move to the next slide, please?
Yeah.
So, gentlemen, I would like to introduce Mr. R.K. Goyal. We have invited, he has accepted our invitation today to join us. Mr. R.K. Goyal is my esteemed client, a very good friend and very trusting person. He is gold medalist from Hisar Agricultural University, and he did his MBA from NMIMS. Currently, he's heading business of Southeast Asia for Cytozyme Labs, which is a US MNC, which is in the field of pesticide. And Mr. Goyal has huge experience of 30 plus years in the field of agriculture and related things. So, and why I have invited Mr. Goyal is actually, since I know him for some time and he's also a client, he almost personify the discipline what we need to follow in financial matters, personal financial matters. Mr. Goyal, please like a son, we want you to give us your view for a brief 2-3 minutes about the personal finance, and how do you think everybody should follow that?
Thanks, and very good evening to all of you, and special thanks to Ashish and Avdesh for inviting me for this today's program. It is my privilege that and the pleasure to have with you here. And first of all, my compliments to both of you. 25 years association between I know Ashish and Avdesh both start with A letter. So your synergy, it is 1 plus 1. I always say it is 11. So money and mind, you have collaborated very nicely. I don't know how you would pick up the name actually, because I always know that the branding and the marketing is the first key to success. So my compliments to both of you, and wish that 2021, of course, for everyone, but for both of you, because you are like a
Thank you.
backbone for us. Because let me just brief
Thank you.
you. it is it is always good, Avdesh and Ashish and money and mind. So this
Thank
is
you. Thank
a,
you so much.
yeah, you can say mama also, like whatever. But I started my career when I was 20 years old, at the age of 20 in the year 1988. I started my career with a company called Hext. It is a German pharmaceutical company, but in agrochemicals. I am agriculture professional, and I am working now with the capacity of business director for South Asia, and we are into fertilizers actually. And agriculture is the base for everyone. Daily morning to evening we have food, we eat whatever cereals or vegetables or fruits. So we are into now organic fertilizers. Out of 32 years, I spent my 25 years with Bayer Crop Science or like that as a German multinational. But we used to sell pesticides. Just now, this use the one word pesticide. So pesticide today is a curse actually. It is not a good word that when you say, even Hema Malini will say in the television that don't eat vegetable because it contains pesticide. But last 8 years now, I am focused on the organic fertilizer for the better health and better human being. So of course, today is the need of a better immune system. So I moved to this US company about 8 years back, and I'm heading a couple of countries now. But coming back to the financial management, just to brief everyone, when I was earning in 88, about 33 years back, my stipend or whatever say internship fee amount was 800 rupees a month. Of this today, I'm just sharing with you confident. Of course, my all this financial matter. But 800 rupees I was earning a month. But I was saving from the day one 100 rupees as a recurring deposit in SBI. That was my first learning from my whatever family like that. That whether you earn 100 rupees or 800 or 800,000 million dollars, whatever, but you have to save every month actually. So that legacy I still continue, and thanks to Avdesh, last 5 years, he is my official, as a friend of course, but as an official consultant to me, and I'm lucky that he has given me a good advice. And last week of this, I was having a television. There was a person called Nilesh Shah. He is the group president and managing director of Kotak AMC. You have asked me a couple of times to attend this program, but I could not because of my very busy schedule. But I was happy to see his 10 minutes call on this CNBC. He used one word, that India is a country where is of course turbulence is there. That he used one line. When there is a movie called Amar Akbar Anthony, that honi ko anhoni kar de, anhoni ko honi. जब एक जगह जब तीनों हो इकट्ठे, Amar Akbar Anthony. So what is the reason of that? This year we have seen, once this Sensex markets came to 25,000 points, I spoke to this what should be done now. He says, Golsab, don't worry, this market is a very fluctuating is there, but it will definitely go up to whatever. Today everyone is saying within 7 months the market has touched 47 points actually. So it is all patience. And but one thing which I liked Nilesh Shah's point, he briefed that India is a country where we have 1.35 billion now, and definitely agriculture is a good base. And our country is the one of the very, very focused country. Believe me, when I go to US, in my even company, we are after Brazil. Brazil is also number one country for our agriculture focus. But after Brazil, India is the number 2 country for our global focus actually. So flow of money, retail investment, and so many things are happening. So we should also having a confidence and faith on our country that yes, politically or whatever, we are very sustainable. And I must say that that investment which we have to do, we have to have a confidence and trust and faith on our person like Avdesh. Ashish, I don't know much about you, but I can say Avdesh is a friend last 12 years in this society. But last 5 years he's controlling my whatever investment. So I'm very happy, very pleased to see his contribution. And even 2-3 friends of mine, I suggested them, why don't, because we are a sales, let me tell you, I'm a hardcore sales and marketing guy. I don't know much about finance, but the peace of mind which I'm getting now last 2-3 years or maybe 4 years, it is fabulous actually. So I must compliment to you people. Please keep it on, and whenever any need is there from my side, I can definitely contribute for that. Thank you very much once again, and let's go forward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gulsaf.
So much, Mr. Goel. आपने एक बात बहुत अच्छी कही that when you started out from day one, which is about 32 years back, even when you were earning 800 rupees, you were saving 100 rupees. That is such a powerful message, and we are going to talk a lot more about that as we go along. Why that is important? 100 rupees looks very small, but it has potential to make you a dollar millionaire, and we will talk more about that as it goes on. Thank you so much for your encouraging words, and thank you for being with us. And as we go along, I would like to hear from the participants in our session today. What are the expectations you have from the session? We talked a little bit about the agenda for the session today, but we'll be happy to hear from you your specific expectations so that we can address them during the course of the discussion today. You can unmute yourself, or you can type your response in the chat. We would be happy if you can also put on your videos and type, so we can have a little bit of interaction and hear from you. What are your expectations? Anybody would like to share what you would like from the session today? One or two things. Harsh Ji is asking how to diversify our investments. Okay, how and why we will be discussing. Harsh, thank you so much for sharing that. Retirement planning, Shivdas, thank you for sharing that. Friends, please let us know your expectations so that we can respond. Whether participants should know how to keep the sustainable investments, very important, right? Thank you, Mr. Goel. Tips for mid-20s single individual. Very nice, Aman. Very good question. You will hear a lot of that. Thank you. Let's managing financial stress. All right. Yeah. Okay, Shivdas.
Hello.
Yes.
I am looking for any information around bond funds and fixed deposits and the comparison.
Okay.
Is that included?
Okay, so I'll not respond to your individual request, but we are making a note of everything that you're saying. And as you may have noticed that, which I shared early on, this is actually part one. We are having the next session on coming Saturday, the same time, 4:30 p.m. So what we will try and do is do our best to address your concerns and expectations either in the session today or in the session in the next one. But we are making a note of your requirement, Dr. Sarla.
Thank you, Ashish.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
Anyone else? So if you think of something, you can keep typing in the chat. Nina ji says emergency fund and retirement planning. Okay, excellent. Thank you for sharing that, Nina ji. And let's see what more have we got. How to make balance falling interest rates manage inflation. Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. Please keep sharing your expectations in the chat box, so that will help us, mold our discussion accordingly. In the session today is divided into two broad parts. The first one is going to be about the golden rule of personal financial management, which will be led by Mr. Avdesh Nagar. And the second part is about the secret of how rich people keep getting richer, which will be led by me. Few ground rules before we get started. Please grab your notepads and pen or pencil so that you can take notes as we speak. And you can also use it to write down your questions and queries. We will have one question and answer session at the end of the session, but if you have any comments, please keep putting them in the chat box. There are things that we will share in the session today, which you may have heard of, and there are things which we'll share in the session today which you may not have heard of. But what we would urge you to do is try what we are sharing before you believe us or disbelieve us. Don't just trash it because it doesn't sound right. Try it, because what we are sharing is basis our experience as finance professionals over 25 years and extensive research. We are going to share the source of our research for you as a reference for anyone who's interested in pursuing this more and deeper. And lastly, this is not a session which you can do, while multitasking. So the duration of the session is about 90 minutes till 6 p.m. So please ensure that we have your full attention till 6 p.m. And we would really appreciate if you can keep your videos on so that we know that we are engaging with you and you are with us. As I was mentioning, the research that we are falling back on for this session includes Mr. Warren Buffett. Those of you who know about him, it's fine. Otherwise, for those of you who don't know it, his net worth is about $85 billion, and he's a self-made billionaire. So he started out as a student distributing newspapers, but he educated himself, and he applied his learnings to create the billions of dollars that he now owns. And he says the most important investment that a person can make is in himself or herself. And that really kudos to each one of you for taking out time and to make that investment in yourself. Also, it is my personal belief that if anyone wants to earn more, we need to learn more. But unfortunately, in our education system, financial education has completely been missed out. We keep studying for about 20 odd years, and we work for 20, 30, 40 years without having any formal education on managing our personal finances. And one of the differences that we are bringing out in the session today is we are not going to be talking so much about investments, but about managing money, about the basic concepts of managing personal finance. And we are also influenced a lot by Mr. Robert Kiyosaki, who's a self-made millionaire. He's the author of a very popular book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and is worth more than $500 billion himself. And lastly, we lean a lot on the work by Mr. Dave Ramsey. He is the author of 5 New York Times bestseller books, and he has a radio show which is broadcast on over 500 radio stations in America. So there is a lot of research, that we follow him, and he has some very interesting takes on managing personal finance. He says that winning at the money game is 80% behavior and 20% head knowledge. This is a very interesting perspective, because most of us shy away from managing our money, thinking that it's a very technical topic. But he is demystifying. He's saying it's behavior more than technical knowledge, which helps us in winning the money game. And that is what a lot of the session today is going to be focusing on. And second, he says, it's not knowing what to do. That's not the problem. We almost, I think everybody knows what is required to be done, but doing it is. So the session today is also going to be focused on some of the challenges. So we'll be happy to hear from you the challenges that you face in doing some of the things that we talk about. And, we can then address those challenges. We would like to have a free-flowing discussion about that. And lastly, it kind of builds us on that most of us know what to do, but we just don't do it. If I can control the guy in the mirror, I can be skinny and rich. And then he makes another very interesting point, saying that this is about spending money, that we buy things we don't need with money we don't have. He's talking about credit cards here or personal loans to impress people we don't like. That's the irony of the generation that we are in today. People are spending money, and as I go and do the sessions in corporates. I hear such horror stories of how people are mismanaging their money that it is not a joke. And with that introduction and background, I would now like to invite Avdesh to share his story. He's one of those few people who has managed his money incredibly well, and he embodies the principles that he's going to be talking about. So, with that introduction, over to you, Avdesh.
Thank you, Ashish. Thank you so much, and welcome everybody once again for this session. This session, I will cover just very few basic discipline which we need to follow, nothing technical. But these few basic things are very, very useful in our life. This we start with the first thing. We start with the income. So income is simple. What we earn is the income, and there are categories of income. We earn salary income if we are working for an enterprise or government. If we are running a business, we have profit. If we have some investment, we get dividend, and with our deposits or debt instrument kind of investment, we get interest. And if we have house property, we get rent out. So we need to understand here the concept of active and passive income, and why this is so important. I will also tell about that. Active income is something which has a direct impact of our work. So if we are working or if we are running a business, if that is the active income, because we are working, so we get the money. We go to the office, we spend our time, we provide our services, and that's how we are paid for it, and that's why that is the active income. And the passive income is something which keeps occurring to us. We must have worked for it sometime, but we have built something that it keeps giving us money. It's something like having a dividend or getting an interest from your FD. You don't have to work, but sometimes you earn and you deposited, you bought certain investment, you made deposits in the bank or somewhere, so you are earning the interest, or you build a house property and you are earning the rent out. So we always have to look, as we grow in our life, it's very important that our passive income increases gradually. That will take us to financial freedom. And how do we measure achieving the financial freedom with this passive income? So at the time when passive income is equivalent to our expenses, our monthly expenses, that's a stage where we can say that we are financially free, because the passive income is coming and I really don't have to worry about my day-to-day activities or my basic living expenses. If that is happening, then you are achieving financial freedom. But we really have to work towards passive income. It doesn't start on day zero. We have to spend time, we have to make proper planning, proper investments, and wait for some time, give it a time to grow it in such a way that it gives us more and more income in the future. So this is the concept of income. We have to move towards earning more and more passive income from activity. Next one, Ashish. And we know about the expenses, what we spend, what we pay rent. If we are running a business, we pay salary, we pay our loans, EMIs, credit card payment, all necessity, entertainment. No, we need to control our expenses. I'm not saying we should not spend. After all, we have to live a decent life. The idea not here is just to be living miserably, and despite of earning well, we should not spend. We should spend money on all the right kind of things, but there is a balance that has to be struck. So there's one way, which I can suggest how to strike a balance, is something which I have practiced for some time. I share that with you. Ashish, if you can show the next slide, please. Yeah. So what we can do is we can divide the income in these 6 categories, which is necessity. Of course, the major part of it goes to necessities. So, but we have to see that we keep necessities within a limit. So normally 55% as a thumb rule. Not that everybody has to follow that also, but that's why I'm telling that what I did for some time is 55% of income goes to necessity. 10% each goes to financial freedom, future expenses, education, and play. Now let me explain what these jars are. So financial freedom is something for your future that will help you achieve a passive income in future. This is the money you need to invest. And this is extremely important, probably more important than anything else. So 10% of your income at least should go to financial freedom. If you can do more, very good. Then there are future expenses, like you want to buy electronic item, a major capital good, something uh, for the consumption, buying a new refrigerator, buying a new TV. This is what we call future expenses. So this is where another 10% of income can be allocated. Educating self, one must spend on educating self. And I have in I very much believe in learning new things and acquiring more knowledge. 10% of that goes to education to yourself, training yourself and something, because learning is very extremely important. And this is fifth is pleasure. Now, this also I consider equally important. Pleasure is basically where you indulge. You spend money on yourself, you enjoy your life. No, this is so important because this will basically probably motivate you to earn 100%. So 10% of that money you must enjoy your life, maybe a holiday, maybe for going out for movie, eating out, something like that. Whatever you want to do, what you like to do, and pursue some interest. 10% of that should go to pleasure, and this is a motivation for all of us. And 5% can go for gift and charity. I'm not saying everybody has to follow exactly this ratio, but try to follow some kind of discipline for yourself. You can decide for yourself what is the kind of discipline one has to follow. And if you follow that, I think it will help you, at becoming financial free as soon as possible. Next one, Ashish. There are certain tools which help you in following a discipline. ET Money is one of them. There are a few more apps available. So there you can track your expenses. It gets linked to your SMSs, where you spend when you withdraw money and all the SMS you get from bank, and will track your expenses where all you're spending and tell you how much money you have withdrawn. So every month or every year you can scale. You can see your detail about the last few months. Ashish, can you tell something more about this particular app?
Sure. Now, thanks for sharing about income and expense, Abdesh. Tracking of expenses is something that I hear that people have challenges with often. We keep spending without actually knowing how much we spend and on what. And I found the ET Money app, and I would like to clarify that we don't have any arrangement with ET Money app to promote them. This is just a tool that we use, and we thought of sharing with you. This tracks your expenses brilliantly well. What it does is it picks up the SMSs that we receive whenever we are spending money, and it tracks that. So you can know in any particular month how much did you spend on what. So you can do multiple classifications on that. So this is the app which you can download from your Play Store and play around with as much as you like. And this is something which is very important because in the times of my father, when there were no credit cards, suppose if he is earning 100 rupees a month, he would only spend 80 to 90 rupees. But today, because of easy availability of credit cards, the earning and spending has been dealing. One could be earning 100 rupees, but spending 110, 120, 150 or 200 rupees. And, sometimes it's so happens that we are not budgeting and we have no visibility till the time we get the credit card bills on how much we have blown. So this app really helps in tracking our expenses and keeping us on track. And this is something I urge you. You could always use simple Excel sheets, which is what I used to do earlier. So every time I would have an expense above a certain amount, I would go and punch it into the Excel. So if you're comfortable using Excel, by all means, continue to start using Excel or continue to use Excel in case you're already doing, or use Money app. So depending on what you are comfortable with, Excel or app, please go ahead. In case you could make your own template of how to track expenses on Excel, but in case you would like us to share our templates, you can just send us a message on the chat. And we'll be happy to email you the template, that I used to use. Now I have, of course, moved to the Money app. But so that's my 2 bits on the income and expense of this.
All right, Ashish, go for the next one. Okay. So as we talked about the passive income, which is you also need to have multiple source of income. Now, multiple source can be from active income as well as passive income. It can be from salary, it can be from investments, it can be from rent of the house property. We need to have some multiple source of income. It can be from a couple of businesses also. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen immediately. One really has to work towards it, but it's not something which is very impossible to do. It does take time, but it does happen. And why we need to have multiple source of income? Because we really can't print money ourselves, like government of India. So how government meets its budget is 1/3 of government's budget is met by printing money and borrowing. And government can borrow unlimited money in rupee. We can't, as an individual, we can't do that. So we really have to generate source of income to sustain ourselves. The most important concept, probably the crux of this entire session, is income minus saving is your expense. So when we have income, first you have to save, then you have to expend. Don't save what is left after expenditure. You have to save and spend what is left after saving. Very important concept, return on saving is that your financial freedom is depending on your saving rate, not your earning rate. Somebody earning 1 lakh rupees or somebody earning 50,000 rupees, if both are saving 10,000 rupees, your financial future is going to remain same. So your financial future is basically a function of your saving and prudent investment, not a function of your earning. So friends, this is your income saving. We'll talk more about this in this session and the next session. Ashish, please, you can take forward from this.
Sure. Thanks for sharing that, Avdesh. These are some very powerful concepts here. Multiple sources of income. This is something that has become so important in the current times because, people are either losing jobs, or those who are in the jobs are anxious that, what will happen if I lose my job. So it is important that we start building different streams of income. Most of us have one dominant stream of income, which is the income either from our salary or from our business, but we have paid very less attention to having other sources of income like dividends or rent or interest. So it is time to start investing consciously and building a second source of income. Have multiple sources of income. That is one of the very important things. Second, as Avdesh said, the individuals can't print money. So at times we tend to borrow to meet our expenses, but that's good for the government, not for an individual. So as individuals, it's very important for us to manage our expenses within our income, and that's where the golden rule of personal finance comes in, which is that we spend what is left after saving, and which is what Mr. Goel also said in his introductory note, that even when he was earning his starting stipend was 800 rupees, he saved 100 rupees and he spent only the 700 rupees after saving. So that's the strategy, and that is what creates dollar millionaires. And the rate of savings is very important, and the financial freedom quotient, which Avdesh spoke about earlier, which is what percentage of your expenses are getting covered by your passive income. So if I'm if my expense is 1 lakh rupees, and if my passive income is 50,000 rupees, which is from dividends, interest, or rent, then my quotient is 50%. I'm like 50% covered. So the idea is to take the passive income to cover as much as the expenses that we have. So that is on the income and expenses. We'll kind of pause here for a couple of minutes to see if you have any questions around this. And then we will move to the next section, which is asset and liability, and which is about how rich keep getting richer. So this is the golden rule of personal finance, spending after saving, which makes a tremendous difference. So we'll be happy to hear your views, comments, questions. if you have any on what we have discussed so far before we move forward. So we'll pause for a couple of seconds to see your comments. In case you have no questions, you can also share what you liked or what is your one takeaway from the session so far, so that we know that we are sharing with you the message that we intended to share.
Thanks, Ashish. Goel here again, and
Yes.
very, very nice one. Thanks, Avdesh, both of you. That really, this word passive income is a quite good one, because every one of us, at least from my field, I can say the hardcore sales guys, sales and marketing guys, we will always see how to earn, but how to get the backup income. Like, just to give an example, I have another flat here in Sector 47. I was to move there, but my wife advised me, don't move there because rental income will be better there, not from this house. So we retained back in the same house in Nile, and we picked up that house for the rental. So now I can just see that 5 years back, if I decided to go to Bestech Parkview Spa, my income may not increase by 30 to 40,000 rupees per month. So now I can see that in 5 years, I must have earned maybe 5-6 lakh rupees because of one decision actually. So that is really a passive income for me. That is good advice by you. And just to give one example, that yes, definitely, when we have this like a backup income, we are more comfortable actually. Yeah, that is from my side.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Goel Saab. Hemant ji also says the concept of passive income is very good. Thank you for sharing that, Hemant ji. Anybody else?
Ashish,
Yes.
Sanjeev here.
Yes, Sanjeev ji.
Since I think most of us do not track our expenses diligently,
Yes.
and if you have to now start having the awareness about, so how do we establish that? What are our average expenses? Is there any suggestion on how to do it? Because as we are growing older, I think having that awareness is important, and that can also help you to mitigate some of the risks which may be coming up.
Yes, Sanjeev ji, that's a very valid and very good question. There are a couple of ways we can do it. Like most of us have moved to electronic payments, debit cards or credit cards to spend our money. So one of the ways is to look at your credit card or debit card statements and see how what the money is being spent on. Some of the credit card banks offer you analysis of your spend on the credit card. So that is another way of looking at how we have spent money, or looking at our bank statements on a monthly basis, and seeing how the money where the money is going. That is another way. Or making a budget, a simple exercise of making a budget and spending, like Avdesh spoke about the concept of money jars. How much is going to go on necessities, how much is going to go on my financial freedom, making my retirement secure, how much is going to go on educating myself, because that has become very important in the volatile times. We are living in very volatile and uncertain, complex, ambiguous time. So continuously educating ourselves is very important. So investing some money, spending some money there. So making those money jars and tracking expenses. So there are many ways it can be done. It can also be done by way of Excel templates, which I'll share, or by downloading the ET Money app, which is one of the simplest ways to do it, because every time I make a payment, it instantly shows me, adds to the total I have spent for the month, and I find that very, very convenient to track my expenses. So there are multiple ways, Sanjeev ji, that it can be done. I'm so happy that you asked.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Ashish. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Any more questions? Else we will move on. Any questions or comments? You can also share, pause to share any takeaway, you have from the sessions so far. Thank you, Nina ji. Yeah, so Anita, we will come to the loans in the next section. And I think that's a good prompt for us to move on. And there's one more thing I would like to share about income and wealth. Those of us, and I count myself in it, who are in the salary, or, who are earning salaries, we are always focused on increasing our income. Whereas the richest people in the world are focused on increasing their wealth And that is a big difference. Rather than chasing to increase income, we should be, chasing increasing the wealth. And with that note, we will move on to understanding another very simple but very powerful concepts, which is about asset and liability. In simple words, asset is some.
One second, Ashish.
Yeah.
Allow me 1 second for here that
Yes,
you rightly mentioned income versus wealth, which is a very, very important subject. So I will request you, both of you, in any of your session next time,
Yeah.
just have 5 minutes on that, because last time it was very, very powerful as a session. And if you guys can have people like us definitely will get more valued for that, because everybody is running now that how much to earn like that, but how to create a wealth as a depository or whatever, so that you are very comfortable.
Yeah.
It is the right way, and please carry on.
Sure. Thank you, Goel sir. We will definitely cover it in the session, coming session. So asset is something that we own, and if you look at what Robert Kiyosaki says, he makes a very important distinction between an asset which generates cash and an asset which does not generate cash. And he says, an asset is useful only as long as it generates cash. Any asset which is not generating cash should ideally not be counted as an asset. So as per the accounting definition, anything that you own is an asset. But if you were to look at what Robert Kiyosaki says, he says anything that generates cash only is an asset. So a house that I live in is not an asset as per Robert Kiyosaki. A car that I have, which is not for business purpose, is for my personal drive, is not an asset, even though I own it, because it does not generate cash. And that's where another very important distinction comes in, which is physical assets like house or gold, and financial assets, which are like shares, mutual funds, deposits, and insurance. And it is very important for us to understand the difference between physical asset and financial asset. One thing is, which we all understand, that a physical asset is something you can touch, so gold you can touch, a house you can touch, and shares, mutual funds, they're all in demat form, you can't touch. The advantage of a physical asset is, of course, that it's there and we can see it, but it is also illiquid. So if I have to sell a house, like I have a house in Pune, which I was trying to sell, and it took me over a year, just going to different brokers, putting it up on different sites, but we could not conclude the sale. And eventually, I had to give up the idea of selling. So, if you have an asset like a house or, plot of land may still be more liquid, house may be less liquid. So it's not liquid, and selling it is not easy. Financial assets are relatively easier to liquidate. They are like cash. That's why they are also called liquid assets. So if I have to sell shares, I can just call my broker, or I can go to my online account and sell it. So they are as good as cash. Insurance is little less liquid. It will start paying, only when it matures, or, when it starts paying dividend. So physical assets are those you can touch and are illiquid. Financial assets are those you can't touch and are highly liquid. And as an asset class, they have different returns at different points of time. There was a decade when physical assets were giving very high returns, and now it is financial assets which are giving very high returns. And the point is, they are never correlated. So at some point of time, you will have physical asset giving you very high returns, and some point of time, you will have financial assets giving you very high returns. So it is very important to diversify your portfolio to include both physical assets and financial assets. Normally, we think that it is the return that drives investment decisions, but it's practically it is not the return which drives the investment decision. What we have seen in our experience, it is what the comfort that we have with an asset class that drives our investment decision. So there are families which invest only in land. There are families which invest only in office properties. There are families which invest only in shares. There are some families which invest only in LIC policies. Some families, so like that, there are patterns, and our own comfort with the asset class that drives decision rather than the return. And in that manner, we may be making suboptimal choices. So there are a lot of people who have or had large holdings in real estate, but now are finding themselves stuck because real estate is not getting anywhere. So there is hardly any return on the real estate. So we have to be very cautious about the class of asset. That is why it was said that don't put all your assets in one basket. It's very simple rule is divide your money in different asset classes to get an optimum return. And one of the questions I think which came was how much to have in which asset class, and that is where experts come in. Rather than take that call yourself, consult experts who do this on a day in and day out basis and who can see trends and guide you on how much one should have in each asset class. So that's on the asset class. Asset is something that we own. There are physical assets, financial assets. Physical assets are illiquid, give lower return. Financial assets are liquid and give higher return. So that's in brief about the assets. And then we come to the concept of liability. And liabilities are of different types, and I'm sure you are familiar with them: home loan, car loan, loan against property, loan against shares, education loan, personal loan, credit card loan. There are different types of loans. You can get loan for anything and everything today. You want to go on a holiday abroad, you don't have money, doesn't matter, you can take a loan. You want to buy a car, don't have money, doesn't matter, you can take a loan. You want to buy a house, doesn't matter, everything, want to go shopping, you can have loans. So there are multiple types of loans. So, and it is important for us to understand what is it that we are taking the loan for. But before we get to that, I would like to ask you a question. These loans are arranged in a certain manner. Can you think about it and give me a logic on how these loans are arranged? Why are these loans arranged in this slide in this manner? There is a certain trend.
The quantum of loan amount.
Okay, quantum of loan amount is a good one. Thank you for sharing that.
This is due to maybe physical asset and your financial asset. Due to that only you have raised. The first part is that maybe the home loan, like for example, it relates to the physical asset, and the other ones are the financial asset.
Very nice. I'm very happy to get that response.
So I think the other thing over here could also be the rates.
Yeah.
You possibly will get home loans at the lowest rate and the credit cards are the highest ones.
Yes. Who said that? Sorry, I'm not.
It's Shivdas.
Shivdas, very well said. All of you have said the right thing, but this one is particularly arranged basis the interest rate on the loan. Home loan is typically the cheapest one because it's secured, and that is another difference in this. The first few ones are backed by a security or an asset, which is home or car or property or shares. And the last 2-3 are unsecured loans. And that is why a secured loan, which is backed by an asset, is cheaper. And those which are not backed by a security are more expensive. There is another way to look at this, which is a good loan, a good debt and bad debt. So something which, so a loan which I take to set up my business. So if I borrow money at 10% from a bank and invest in a business which gives me 20% return, this is a good debt because, I can generate incremental return of 10% on the money that I borrow. So that's a good debt. Education loan is a good debt because I'm investing in myself. And as Warren Buffett says, that's one of the best investments a person can make. But there is a bad debt. What's a bad debt? It's not bad debt, which is money gone bad, but bad debt is debt, any debt which we are incurring to finance our expenses. Like Avdesh was talking about the golden rule of finance, which is income minus saving is equal to expense. But some people, they don't regard, they are not aware about that role and they just keep spending money. So if the income is 100, they might spend 120, 150, 200 rupees. And to finance the deficit in income, they take loans. And that's the kind of loans typically people take on credit cards, on personal loans. It doesn't feel like it's spending money on credit card is so easy. And it's been my personal experience that, if I have to spend cash, I would tend to put away the expenditure, but if I have to spend credit card, I happily keep swiping it. And I have asked this question to many people as a part of my survey, that how much would you spend less if you didn't have credit cards? And the normal answer I get is 5,000 to 10,000 rupees in a month would be less if we don't. So credit card, just pushes us to spend more money than we need on things that we don't need to impress people we don't like, like Dave Ramsey says. And sometimes people push me back saying that, Ashish, 5,000, 10,000 ki to baat hai, it's my lifestyle, I can afford it. But the point is, people don't realize that this 5,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees can make you a dollar millionaire. If you don't believe me, come for the next session where we're going to talk about how saving even 100 rupees a day, which is money which we just throw away, can make you a US dollar millionaire. That's the power of saving. That's the power of following the golden rule of personal finance, and how it multiplies. And like Dave Ramsey says, it does not require technical knowledge or financial knowledge. It just requires making those small resets to our behavior, that can create a very big difference in the our financial futures and the future of our family. That is very, very important. Then, there was a question on how to go about debt reduction strategy. And there are two ways to do it. One is classify all your debt. And once you have classified your debt, in Excel or a piece of paper, look at which ones are the highest interest, which ones are the lowest interest. That is one way to do it. The second way to do it is, and start paying off the highest interest ones. That's what the intuitive thing is, that I pay off my highest interest loan. But Dave Ramsey has a very interesting take. He says it's not the highest interest loan that you should start paying. It is the smallest loan that you have, which you should start paying first. And there is a logic behind that, because it's got a very powerful psychological motivator force. It is like a snowball. So if my smallest loan is, say, 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, 1 lakh, whatever that amount is not important. But once I pay off that loan, the high that I get, the psychological high that I get, is very, very important. And, it motivates me to pay up the next bigger one. So there are, in a nutshell, there are two strategies to pay off debt. List all of them. Either go highest interest first and start knocking that off, or the second one, which Dave Ramsey suggests and which I also like, is to pay the smallest loan first, so that it has a snowballing effect and sets in motion a process where you start knocking off debts. Another reason why it's very important to reduce your debts right now, and maybe become, I don't know whether becoming a zero debt is an ideal situation, but start paring down your debt, because the economic environment is very, very uncertain. And, it's changing very fast. The skills are going out of fashion. So if I'm skilled in a particular thing, and that's the only thing I know, but if the company closes, or my job has been replaced by technology, then I won't have anything else. And if in that situation I have a huge loan, that creates a lot of stress to people. And then we find that people doing undesirable things, which is what I mentioned in one of my notes. So that's in brief about debt reduction. And I would also like to invite Avdesh here to share his perspective. There is a lot of work Avdesh has done in advising his clients on reducing debt. So Avdesh, your thoughts here, please.
Thank you, Ashish. See, as to Ashish talked about good debt and bad debt. Debt reduction, very good thing, very important. But I've seen sometimes people keeping their unsecured loan alive, like personal loan or something like life, and paying off their housing loan. Now, while doing a debt reduction, if you, I will give one example also, which I suggest to my client. But your housing loan is something which is the cheapest loan one has, and right now it's available for something like 7% housing loan. Depending on your tax bracket, post-tax the housing loan costs 4.9 to 6.3%. Now, if somebody is able to earn more than that, out of housing loan, should not be in a hurry to retire, but it's better to retire higher cost loan. So I also did, I had this few clients whom I advised on the debt strategy, and where I actually encouraged them to take further loan on housing and repay the other loan, which were more expensive. So I had this client who was taking a loan for, who had taken a loan for personal loan and had taken a loan for car, wanted to take a loan for car. So I advised him that, you on your home, on your personal loan or car loan, one is that you have to repay it in shorter period of time, 5 years time. So you don't have the flexibility. It will affect your liquidity also. If you take further loan on a house, he wanted 10 lakh rupees. So if you really need, you take a loan on a house, extended loan on a house, which your bank will give because you have keeping good credit record, and that's the money you can use to for other expenses if you really press for it, rather than taking a car loan and personal loan. It makes more sense because your housing loan is extended for 20 years. You have more liquidity. Any point of time you have surplus, you can always pay that. But you are free, you have more flexibility, you have liquidity, and you have lower cost of housing loan. So for reducing debt, these are the kind of strategy one needs to take. Always look at the lower cost debt, if possible, and not at the higher cost debt. And pay your housing loan, pay your higher cost debt as soon as possible. But keep your, maybe it makes sense to keep your housing loan alive and stay invested that money. If you can follow the discipline that rather than prepaying or early paying your housing loan, use that money to invest and earn better return than that. You do that because you will all and be liquid in that investment. So you can, in any point of time, if you're stressed or in case of loss of income for any reason, then you can immediately draw on that investment to pay your housing loan. But till the time, if you can take with little bit of risk with right kind of financial planning or help of financial advisor, you can always earn much better than the cost of loan on the housing and use that money for your liquidity, emergency, and everything. And if you are pressed for repaying any other kind of loan, you can use that for repaying. Over to you, Ashish.
Thank you, Avdesh. That's a very interesting take. Retire your high interest loans first. That's what Avdesh advised to his client. So as I mentioned earlier, there are two different strategies. You can either go for the high interest ones or go for the smallest amount ones. Consult your advisor and do something which works best in your case. And that's something which which is about assets and liabilities. I'd like to pause here to see if you have any questions, comments, anything that you like, anything that you would that's your takeaway, and or any of the comments you would like to make before we move on. Anybody would like to share anything? If you are liking it, you can also, if it's making sense to you, you can do a smiley or type making sense, MS, or just use the reaction. There is a button for reaction and you can, use smiley, thumbs up. Goel Sab says making sense. MNG says making sense. I would like, all right. Anybody else would like to share? Thank you, Nina ji. Thank you, Sirla. Thank you, Dr. Sirla. Sanjeev ji is asking, what's the golden rule for the split? Sanjeev ji, that's something which is a function, there is no one golden rule. That is function of goal-based investing, which is what we will discuss about in the next session. Good, and thanks, Hershey. Thank you, Shubhashish. So we'll move on, and if you have any more questions or comments, then we will take them as we go on. And thank you. So we will just do a recap of what we have discussed so far. We discussed about asset allocation, which is dividing your money in different asset classes. And it is also very important that we have assets to be more than liability, because if our liability is more than assets, then we may move towards bankruptcy, which is a very disastrous situation. And we have seen some very high profile cases where people had to flee India because they could not pay their loans. So asset to be more than liability is the ideal stage. And the difference between asset and liability is what is called as net worth. And as I discussed earlier, a lot of the wealthy and rich people are focused not so much on their increasing their income, but increasing their net worth. And we discussed about good debt and the bad debt. And we come to a point now, very important point, where we talk about how the rich people, what's the secret of rich people keep getting richer. And there is a very simple strategy which they have, which is to create cash generating assets, to have assets which create cash, which create income, which they use to create more assets which create income. So they create this, what rich people do is create constantly be in that virtuous cycle of creating cash generating assets which increase income. Whereas what the poor people get trapped is in increasing their expenses, and then they keep borrowing to meet those expenses. So they they have high expenses, and then they borrow to meet those expenses, and they keep struggling. They get into that debt trap. So the secret, I'm repeating myself, for rich people to keep getting richer is invest in cash generating assets and to cut down your debts to the minimum. As long as debts are there, we live not for ourselves, but for the the person who has given us the loan. Whatever we are earning, a lot of people live paycheck to paycheck, so their salary comes and most of the salary goes in paying the EMIs or credit card bills and things like that. So they just land up working for the lender rather than working for themselves. So it's a very sad situation to be in, because in one of the companies I was invited to speak to the employees, because one of the employees got into a debt trap and he committed suicide. So there's a very sad situation. The debt is very easy to get. The banks and financial institutions are doing a brilliant job in marketing debt and making it available easily to us. But what people don't realize is that it may be a one-way street. So we need to be very cautious. So that's on the secret of how rich keep getting richer. And with that, we move to the final part of our session, which is just to recap the takeaways. And we'll be happy, before we share what we've discussed so far, for you to kind of come on camera and share what have been your 1 or 2 takeaways from the session. We'll be happy to hear. You can either speak or share in the chat box. Yes, Goel sir.
Yeah, so thanks, Ashish ji and Avdesh. Very nice. And I could see first time I am attending your first full program, and it is really very nice. And but one thing is very clear, that today every one of us, whether we are in any department or when we are earning or in any business, the balance between asset and liability is the basic thing actually.
Yeah.
Avdesh knows one of my previous employer is a mid-sized company. His main fall has happened due to that imbalance between asset and liabilities. So even he has to sell all his properties and factories and like that stuff. So real example is that today, whether we are earning $100,000 or $200,000 doesn't matter. But thing is that how we have to keep our balance. And I'm very thankful to this, that he has really helped me in last 5 years back, when he gave me that all the insight that this is the priority where we have to keep our eye on that, reducing the whatever loans or whatever. In last 5 years, I think most of my 2-3 loans were there. I have made it zero now. There is no liability, at least now, as in today. So that is the good part, and definitely it is good one. And
thank you, sir.
Yes, so that is from my side.
Thank you for sharing that, Goel Saab. Again, very valuable insights. Paying off of the loans, becoming debt free is the way to financial peace. When we take loans, we take that burden, which makes it very, very difficult for us and for our families also. Anybody else would like to share your takeaways, comments?
We have some comments in chat box, Ashish. We have few of them.
Okay. So what do we have there? Thank you, Shivdas ji. Nicely covered. Cash flows, passive income. Okay. Thank you, Shivdas ji. Anybody else? So let's see what we have covered in the session so far. We talked about physical assets and financial assets, the importance of asset allocation, why it is important to have assets more than liability, and what is net worth, which is the difference between asset and liability, and that is what rich people focus on, increasing their net worth. Education is the best investment. I'm so happy for each one of you to have taken out time to invest in yourself, because we all want to get wealthy, but I have not seen many people take out time consciously to manage their money. And you are one of those who are taking out time on 2nd January, start of the year, to manage your money. And I'm sure you will go a long way. One of the things I would like you to do as an exercise before we get into the next session is to tabulate. In a simple way, it does not need to be complicated, all your assets and liabilities. And if you need a template, we'll be happy to share, but otherwise you can just do it simply. And also tabulate your expenses, and that will be a good starting point for our next session. And then we talked about the importance of having income more than expense. And that's the golden rule, that whatever you earn, you save first before you spend. Have more than one source of income, which is very, very important in VUCA times, volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous times. We spoke about active or passive income and good debt and bad debt. So that's from us, friends. Thank you so much. And there are some more things that we would like to share with you. But before that, I would like you to share your feedback with us. And then, we will open the session for question and answers.
Ashish, just the last slide, number 23 on the Robert Kiyosaki's.
Yes.
Can you just explain that a little bit?
Surely. Thanks for that. So here, what Robert Kiyosaki is saying, that rich people get richer by creating assets that generate cash. Okay. So one example is, if I have bought a house in which I'm living in, that's not an asset as per Robert Kiyosaki. But if I have bought a house which I have put on rent, then it's an asset which generates cash, and then I can use that rent to invest more and more. So if I'm investing, and another example, and you might have seen this get circulated a lot, that if you bought a Maruti, maybe 20 years back, it would have costed you 2 lakh rupees, and that Maruti would be worth 1 lakh rupees today. But if you bought shares of Maruti for 2 lakh rupees, that would be worth crores of rupees now. And the same example goes, if you bought a house. Recently, I saw another one which says that if you bought a house for 20 lakh rupees, how much would that have appreciated to is maybe 10 times. But if you invested the same 20,000 rupees into shares of HDFC rather than buying a house, that share would have been worth crores, many crores. So that is the example of how generating in a cash generating asset can multiply your money, and use that money, whatever is coming in, to create more assets, so that you constantly have that assets creating cash coming in, and you create more assets, so it becomes a virtuous cycle. Whereas many people get trapped into debt, And what they do is they finance their lifestyle by using borrowed money. So their BMWs are on loan, their Mercedes are on loan, they have fancy houses, their holidays are on loan. They don't have money, but they keep spending money to impress people, and that gets them trapped into a ruinous financial future. So that in brief is what Robert Kiyosaki is saying. Avdesh, would you like to add something to that?
Actually, I just wanted a little clarification on the right side. I completely agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're saying liabilities moving to expenses and moving out. So I just wanted to understand that concept exactly. Sorry.
Could you repeat on the right side? What is it? What's the question?
You have liabilities.
Yeah.
And there's an arrow going to expenses and then going
out.
So
it's an expense.
The significance of that.
Yeah. So if you see what we shared in the earlier slides is that what we spend includes our EMIs, So our EMIs for home, car, personal loan, loan against shares, loan against property, our expenses, all the EMIs that we are paying, credit card bills, etc. So when I'm taking on a loan, then I'm increasing my expenses, and that is what is shown here. When I'm taking on loans, I'm increasing my expense. So my money, it takes, so put it very simply, a liability takes money out of my pocket, an asset puts money into my pocket. That's the difference.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. I just wasn't clear on the right side.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. I'm sure it'll, help many people. Thanks for that, Mataji. So any other questions or comments, please, once you have filled in the feedback form, please let us know, feedback done, so that then we can move on with our next part, concluding part of the session. It will take less than a minute for you to share the feedback form, to fill the feedback form. It takes 30 seconds actually. And while you're filling in the feedback form, I would like to share with you that in the session next week, we have got even more exciting stuff lined up. And the first thing that we're going to be talking about in the coming session, which is on 9th January, 4:30 p.m., is the concept of financial pyramid. Pyramid is considered to be the most stable structure on the earth. It has been standing for more than 5,000 years now. So applying the concept of pyramids to managing your finances, how you can create a system which will always ensure that you have cash for any expected or unexpected event. Any unexpected event, you or your family will have cash. That is what the concept of financial pyramid is. Very simple, but very, very powerful. We are also going to be talking about we're going to talk about goal-based investing. So some of you asked us, how to create a retirement fund. So we're going to be talking about goal-based investing. We're going to talk about very important financial concepts, which include eighth wonder of what Einstein called the eighth wonder of the world. We're going to talk about latte factor, which we briefly discussed, but we'll share with you in detail what latte factor is and how it can make you a dollar millionaire, and the concept of risk and volatility. So these are some of the things that we're going to cover in the coming session. Avdesh, would you like to add anything to that?
Yes, Ashish. So the next session, actually, we will actually talk about how to create wealth, different kind of assets classes, and how a disciplined way of creating wealth as well as securing yourself, and how to have a better financial life. That's the idea. So next session, I would request everybody to attend and invite more people, their friends and families. I think that will help all of us. Thank you so much.
Thanks for sharing that, Avdesh. So that is in the coming session, and we have a whole lot of more exciting sessions lined up. like I was shared with you, this session is a part of the Dar Se Dream Tak series of 8 sessions over the next 2 months. And this we are doing at the start of the year to help people, to support them, live their life more consciously. And the next 2 sessions, which will be on 16th and 23rd January, will be by the Astha Diwan, who's a certified psychologist with more than 20 years experience in the corporate sector. And she's going to talk about how emotional intelligence is very, very important for our success and happiness. So one of the things a lot of people are, I hear from people in my sessions is they're facing difficulty in managing their emotions and relationships, frustration, anger, anxiety, depression, staying stuck. Some people feel stuck and trapped with their family members, spouses, parents, children, siblings. So how to handle all of that? So that's what we're going to talk about. And in the next session, we're going to talk about the secret of how, so there is, the New Year resolutions have become a joke, but this is one person who taught me how to set and achieve goals. And he's going to come and talk to us about how to set and achieve goals, the methodology behind that. Then we're going to have 2 sessions on health. One, which is by Dr. Gagan Kapoor. He's the physiotherapist. He was the physiotherapist for Indian national football team, and he's going to talk about the aches and pains that we are having. He's going to talk about home ergonomics, right posture, how to sit and walk, and the exercises that can help us mitigate the pain. And we will have Amrita Gupta, who is based in Dubai, talk to us about sleep. How some yoga exercises and yoga nidra can help us sleep better, because a lot of people are facing challenges in sleeping. And the last session that we're going to have is on the mindset of success. There is a concept of self-sabotage. So many people sabotage their own success. So how to be aware of patterns where we may be sabotaging our own success is what Dr. Nupur is going to be talking about. She's a certified clinical hypnotherapist, a certified mindfulness teacher who lives in London. So these are the exciting sessions that we have got lined up. And all of the experts have agreed to lend a helping hand and to support people in setting their goals and achieving them. And in that context, I would like to share the bonus offer, which is there from Money Lodges to all of you, which is a free financial consultation by Mr. Avdesh Nagar. So anybody who would like to avail of a free 30-minute free financial consultation on setting your financial goals, on reducing your debt, increasing your wealth, or any other aspect, you can get in touch with him. His numbers are mentioned in the screen. You can connect with him directly and opt for that free financial consultation. So that is what the bonus offer today is. And that pretty much brings us to the end of the session today. And we open this up for question and answers.